Hello and welcome back. This afternoon we have a video. We've got some clips from the
Harris interview.
the Harris Waltz interview with CNN. They actually sat down and spoke. So
Yes.
let's get into this interview.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward. In a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be, and I think many of these things that the Vice President's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by a third. We did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this. Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally,
Due to
we
the
were
pandemic.
all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging. What we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration. But
She just said tax credit. Tax credits work after you buy the property. So a $25,000 tax credit will not help.
like a reimbursement.
It's a reimbursement. You have
Yeah.
to buy the house first, and then you get a tax credit on the house afterwards. So that's not going to work.
Well,
Do
and
it-
I was just going to say, I think what's so frustrating too about a lot of these programs is it's not like they're going to be like, okay, so instead of funding this over here that's not working for the American people, we're going to take those funds and we're going to apply those funds to these things that are going to help the American people.
Yeah.
No, that just means, oh, it's another program that we need funding for, so we're just going to have to take more taxes. Like, that's just the way I look at it. It's like, okay, well, where's that going to come from? Like, I think we need reform. I think we need tax reform. I think serious tax reform. I think that we need, like, you can't keep saying we're going to throw more money at certain things without saying, where are we going to cut?
Yeah.
Where are we going to take, where are we going to stop funding? What are we going to stop funding and take those funds and apply it to these things that are going to help the American people? And my thing too is, it's like, if they would quit printing money and causing the value of the dollar to go down, then that would help with inflation, which would in turn help with the cost of goods. I'm not an economist by any means, but I just feel like throwing a Band-Aid or putting a Band-Aid on the problem, like the child tax credit and all that. And I do remember years back that there was more of a tax credit. I think it was under Bush. But anyway,
I think Trump
we've
did
had that
it too.
before. Yeah, and Trump.
But I think, and I have to do a little bit more research, but I think from what I was reading, I wish I had it brought up, that this tax credit only applies if you make less than $15,000. So that's not really going to help just the very low income people. I think there is
or the ones that aren't working at all.
Working. The people that are
already receiving.
They're living on welfare or some kind of social service type program. These are the ones that are going to get it.
We need something that's going to stimulate the economy. Yeah. We need something that's going to help with inflation. We need the people need to be empowered so that they can afford these things for themselves, and they don't need to rely on the government to help them out financially. And those programs that are to help people that are in a bind or they're going through a rough time, to be a temporary thing and not be like, oh, just like rely on us for a long time or ever or whatever. Anyway, there's just some things that just aren't working.
And she keeps going on about the price gouging, and she talks about groceries. The grocery stores are not where price gouging. That's not where the prices are coming. The increase in prices is because of the cost of everything, the cost of getting stuff to there.
Yes.
The Green New Deal, when Trump was president, we were energy dependent. We didn't depend on anyone for energy. Now we are. We're not supplying, or we're not, harvesting our own oil like we were before. We're buying oil from other countries. We're sourcing it from other countries, which is expensive. It costs money. And when you do that, everything
trickles down.
It trickles down because now these truckers are having to pay more for diesel, which that means your shipment from A to B is going to cost more. And so when you get your stuff, you get your goods to the grocery store, your prices are up. So the way to fix the grocery store, some of the inflation is we've got to be energy.
So much of our food comes from
dependent
overseas,
again.
which is not good either. I mean, it's like when you have where you're just, that's a whole nother conversation where they're incentivizing local farmers not to grow things. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. We need
the inflation stems from the fuel.
Yes.
If we're energy dependent, everything's going to go down in price.
True.
It's just,
and if we are growing more and supporting small farms and supporting local and buying local and buying from farms that are closer to the grocery store, they're not having to come from so far away.
Quit selling our farmlands to make way for solar fields and windmills. We need to be using the soil or the land to grow.
I just think that making better choices, more innovative, and just common sense as far as the economy and understanding how everything's connected and how it all works, the inner workings of these different mechanisms within our economic structure of our country. Like, if you understand how these things work, then you know what will help, what won't. And I think that what I get from this is, are they just banking on the fact that most Americans don't understand that, or they just think we're all really stupid, or that we're just, I shouldn't say stupid, not uninformed, not very knowledgeable about how these things work, and they can just say, "Oh, we're just going to give you a tax credit. We're going to give you this." Stop taxing us to death, and then we can afford things for ourselves. Stop, making all these decisions that hurt us, and then tell us, "Oh, we'll just give you a tax credit." It's like, we don't need your tax credit. You know what I mean? Like, empower the people so that they can afford things for themselves. Anyway, I just don't agree with that. But anyway, sorry.
Let's continue.
But in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years. The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of
Exactly.
all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that any
You
longer.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America.
That number's
what we
inflated.
have done
Yes.
to improve.
Most of those, they did do a little bit, but most of those jobs were coming back from being shut down from COVID, so they can't take credit for those.
The supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply
the
American
insulin
families
thing,
with
too.
their basic needs.
Yeah, the insulin, Trump started it. Granted, they did expand it. I think
They made it better, I think.
Yeah,
but
I think
still,
they
it
did
was
make
already-
it better.
A lot of the work
Trump-
was already laid out.
Trump initiated it, but it was for a select plan in the Medicaid, and I think
Medicare.
they did expand it to more people. So I do think that is something that they built on what Trump had already done, but they're claiming credit for all of it.
Needs. I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
So she's right out lying.
Well,
'Cause-
no, okay, so this was what she was talking about. She said this is the town hall that was in 2019 where she said that she would ban fracking. We can play this. It's like really short.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yes, and starting with what we can do on day one around public lands, right?
So that's
And
basically
then
her
there's the
saying
legislation. But
this is
yes,
at
and
the
this is
town
something I've
hall
taken on
in
in
2019.
California.
This is when she was still running
to your
for
point,
president in the primaries,
and
the Democratic
we have
primaries
to
against
just
Joe
acknowledge
Biden.
that the residual
And then during the debate with Pence, after she was appointed as the VP pick during the 2020 election, she said that Biden would not ban fracking. So that's what she's saying, that she's standing behind that. And it's like, but I think that was, I don't really know, but it sounds to me like she did want to ban it whenever she was running by herself. And then once she was joining in with Joe Biden as the VP, he was not going to ban fracking. So then she was not going to ban fracking as being a part of his,
his campaign.
Right.
Yep.
So it's just kind of funny to me how, like, on one hand, oh no, this has been in the Biden administration. I'm just the vice president. None of this is my fault. I didn't do any of the bad stuff. The good things, though, I did. I'm going to take credit for that. I'm going to take credit for these good things that I'm proud of. But these other things that I don't really want to talk about, I don't want to talk about the border. I don't want to talk about all these things that I didn't do, all this neglect. That's not me. That was all Biden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't wash. It's like it's either one way or the other.
She can't only take credit for the good and not the bad. She's part of all of it. She was there for the good, there for the bad, and then that's what everyone's talking about.
You keep saying you're going to do all these things. It's opposite of what's going on right now.
Right.
People are supposed to
She's a
trust
vice president.
you, and
she's the vice president.
Why aren't you doing it now?
She's responsible, partially responsible for all the bad, and partially responsible for all the good that's happened.
It's not all her fault, but to sit there and act like, oh, my hands are tied. I can't.
Yeah, she's full of it.
That's just, I don't
What
know. That's lame.
Yeah.
Made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Okay.
Yeah, that tie vote, she was actually, it was not increasing, it was just renewing the leases.
Let's bring in a member of the Trump transition team, Tulsi.
Oh, sorry.
I want to talk about Tulsi.
So another thing, too, about all of this, I think that's really frustrating is answering without really answering. I don't know. I'm not sure about you, but I feel that I'm just kind of tired of the back and forth. I'm just kind of tired of the talking around things and not really answering.
And to be honest, both sides.
Yeah, it's both sides.
Trump does it too.
It's a lot of pageantry, and it's a lot of like redirection, and like I'm not really going to answer this, so I'm going to redirect it and talk about how great I am, and it's exhausting. It's like, can we just? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
all
frustrating.
Right, so this is the second clip.
Okay.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. As vice president, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
the northern part of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president, that I was asked to do by the president, has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support, And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border, and because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock, and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question.
So the issue with that bill, the Border Patrol, they approved it. They were only approving it because of the amount of new Border Patrol agents that they were going to get. The problem with the bill was
It wasn't just about the border.
it was just like everything else.
Yes.
There was a lot of money going to Ukraine, just like they do everything else. There was more money going to Ukraine than to the actual border. But I have a little clip here.
Even though it was called the border bill,
It was called
the
the
bulk
border
of the
bill.
bill wasn't even about the
It was
border.
Ukraine.
It's just like they tucked that in there and just to get
And so
all these other things. Yeah.
this is another little clip, and this is
This was back February, it looks like.
this is
year.
the Republicans talking about the border
Which makes
bill.
me okay. So is that whenever they were wanting to pass it?
This is back when they were wanting to No, the Republicans didn't want it.
No. I know, but I was just like,
Right.
They were waiting until.
Right.
It was just
so
earlier this
so
year.
the problem is Biden created the problem.
Yes.
Then they tried to pass this bill. The issue with the bill was it was going to normalize normalize 5,000 illegal immigrants a day. So you're not really enforcing the border. You're saying, okay, it's okay. We can let 5,000 a day. They were just going to reduce the number. So they weren't going to stop it. They were just going to reduce
And
it.
the thing is it's not like that. This isn't that. It's not like Border Patrol is not something that we've had for ever. I mean, a long time. I mean, we've always had some kind of. We've had to have some kind of patrol. We've had to have some kind of policies to protect our borders. Like that's not a new thing.
Yeah.
So like the fact that there needed to be a bill to enforce some kind of security at our border is ridiculous.
Yeah. And Ted's going to talk about this. You don't have to have a bill passed by Congress to do it. The president can
Just
do
enforce
it.
the laws we already have
President
in place.
President Trump did it. So just listen to this.
Okay.
Presidency. He inherited the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years.
Talking about
and his
Biden.
first week as president, he halted construction on the border wall. He reinstated the disastrous policy of catch and release, and he pulled out of the unbelievably successful Remain in Mexico agreement. That caused this explosion. It also means Joe Biden could solve it tomorrow. How would he solve it tomorrow? By reversing those three decisions, and
Which
you
he
would
won't
get,
do.
once again, a secure
He's on
border.
vacation.
He won't do it
Joe
because
Biden doesn't want to
Trump was
secure the
right.
border. Kamala Harris doesn't want to
it's an
secure the
ego.
border. Chuck Schumer doesn't want to secure the border. And this bill was designed not to secure the border. Instead, this bill codified Joe Biden's open borders. This bill codified catch and release. Catch and release is contrary to law. But if we'd have passed this bill, catch and release would be right there in the U.S. Code. This bill normalized 5,000 illegal immigrants a day. 5,000 illegal immigrants a day works out to roughly 1.8 million a year.
And so what that means is if that becomes law, those 5,000 illegal immigrants coming into the states would not be illegal. It would
legalize it.
It would legalize the first 5,000 that come through.
It's just
so it's
insane.
yeah.
And two, it's like about the sanctuary, cities and the people, asylum seekers and all of that. It's like, okay, that only works if you're escaping Mexico or Canada.
Yep.
Period. If you're coming from 5-6 countries across the ocean, No, that's not how this works. You have to go to the next place.
Yep. Your bordering country. It does.
Yes, that's the way this works.
Yeah, the sanctuary system only works for a bordering country,
Yes.
which means for us,
Canadians and Mexicans.
Canadian and Mexico. Anyone else, you have to go somewhere
Seeking
else.
asylum. Yeah, you go and that's. I just feel like that's not being talked about. Maybe, or I'm not seeing it or hearing it.
Nope.
I don't understand that. Why there's just certain things. It's like this just doesn't make sense, unless you go down the rabbit hole and then you're like, well, it kind of makes sense if you look at all the other stuff and like if they're doing this on purpose and if this is all part of some plan. But if you are just trying to be diplomatic about it and you're trying to be sensible and like, no, you know, how do we really fix this and what is this really about? It's just it makes it really, really hard, and I can kind of see why people will lean in that direction. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yep. All right, here we go.
Question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking,
And I don't believe that because your border. Yes, she was a border. She's from California. It was border. Border and immigration falls in federal, not local. She was not. She was a state attorney general. They don't deal in federal immigration. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think she's lying there.
how
I don't
should
know enough about
voters
that, but-
look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we
call
should
BS.
meet
Yeah.
certain
Yep.
standards for reduction.
So here's where I don't understand why any of this nuclear power. Why don't we talk about that?
Yep.
Why is everything outsourced? Why is everything coming from overseas? You don't think that these big ships and planes and all this is not horrible for our environment and our planet?
Yeah. The problem is we could be totally green here, and if China,
That's
if India,
true, yeah.
and these other countries don't, it will not make a difference.
But my point is that instead of, I don't know, cutting us off at the knees, I just feel like that isn't the way to go about it. If you really, really, truly care and you're trying to have some global initiative where you're like, let's all go green here, guys. Let's on the global stage, let's all really try to work together. Then you're either going to say, hey, if you want us if we're going to do any kind of trade, you know, you're going to have to change how you do things, and we're all going green together, or we're not going to do this. It's like all or nothing, or we're just going to go where we're independent and we're going to do our own thing over here. And that's not going to happen, and that's not what they're proposing.
And unfortunately, I don't think going green like they want to do is sustainable. You know, a lot of the car manufacturers are already kind of falling back on, because I know the big push is trying to go all electric,
Which is ridiculous. Why not hybrid?
That's not.
It makes so much more sense to go hybrid. It makes so much more sense to try to build up the hybrid vehicles and the hybrid cars. Like
Yeah.
that makes so much more sense.
Hybrid, yes. Full electric, no. It's just not.
No, because that's not really good for the environment either. Because
No. Yeah, just do some research on mining.
Oh,
What the
yeah.
mining is
Cobalt
doing.
mines, lithium
Cobalt
mines,
mining, and
terrible.
talking about working conditions. Look at the conditions of those people in
awful.
Africa that are mining for cobalt and all. It's just
awful.
It's horrible. So
and they're raping the earth. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a whole nother thing that doesn't work either. So I'm like, why not? And two, I feel like when you are radical about something, it's like radical change. I mean, unless it's like really, 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 really awful, it shouldn't be. It should be gradual change. Let's learn more. Let's see what works so that it doesn't fail and it doesn't just fall apart. You know, you can't just take a system that's been working the way it has for a very, very, very long time and then just say like, nope. You know, and two, if you are going to have an initiative and you are going to have a timeline and you are going to say, okay, by such and such date, we want to be, instead of it being, we want to be all electric, we want to be less, less, I can't think right now, dependent on fossil fuels. Okay, that sounds fair. Okay, let's just like have a plan where we're like trying to over time implement better and seeing what's working. I don't know. I just don't understand why we can't work together. It's just it's really frustrating.
Yep.
Anyway, it's really frustrating.
Reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed.
What about the 300,000 children that are
That is
missing?
the reality of it in 4 years of being vice
Unaccounted
president.
for.
if she cared that much about what she's talking about, the border would be closed right now.
Yeah.
Her and Biden are directly responsible for the influx of all the illegal immigrants, the fentanyl, the drugs.
All of it.
They are responsible.
It's really hard to watch this, actually.
Yeah.
I'm getting really, really angry.
Yeah, it's
I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus, and it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
Yes,
in
I
mind?
would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse. But I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
I want to ask you
And
about
I'm
your
sure that
opponent,
that's just-
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised.
reacting
People might
to
be
Trump
surprised to hear that you have never interacted
having
with him, met him face to
endorsements
face.
by RFK
That's going to
Jr.
change
and
soon. But what I
Tulsi.
want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander-in-chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
but no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8 to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution, where Israel is secure and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
Oh, she's
lives in a la la
unqualified.
land.
She is absolutely unqualified for this position.
Unbelievable.
And-
Well, it's not surprising though, but I'm like, I just like, do you understand the history? Do you understand the war? Do you understand what's going on?
No.
Do you understand what they're wanting? Like, they don't need us to fix this for them.
Yeah. No.
They don't.
The problem is she's not going to get a deal done.
No, they're going to laugh at her.
We're not the only
probably
ones.
laughing at
We're
her
not
right
the
now.
only ones watching this interview. People from all over the world are watching
Yes.
this, and for her to come on this interview, it's been how many days since she started? This is the first interview she's done. It was pre-recorded, and she brought her support animal Tim Waltz with her.
Oh my.
For this interview. I mean, this it is what it is. This is the ultimate sign of weakness on her, and that is a problem because other
We already
countries
have a weak administration.
We have a weak
we already
administration.
look weak on the world stage. We don't need that. We need strength.
and this is what's to come if she wins.
And I think it's going to take strength to unify us as a nation. I don't think she's going to unify us. I don't.
no, she's not.
Like, not at all.
No, she's not. All right, so let's continue. We're almost done with this. And this is a long video, but
The country is just starting to get to know you. Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years.
I'm gonna skip past this because he's. I don't know.
The idea that you
the whole
said,
point of this interview was for
Vice President,
for Kamala, not really Tim. So I mean, I don't really want to listen to what he has to say. He's been lying about his service and all, and about actually going to war, about having PTSD from having served, and when he wasn't, he was actually in I think Italy when he said he was actually carrying weapons of war. So I want to get more into what she's actually saying.
President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Waltz for president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, and we had just had pancakes and, you know, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him, to be honest. I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles, including one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of the man is one that he has been in his life and career, including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
I just have to ask you both about two standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional, saying, "That's my dad."
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And
It almost looked like his mom was
you
getting
try and
onto him.
protect your kids, it
Poor
brings
guy.
it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is talking about the era we're in is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope that there was I hope people felt that out there, and I hope they hug their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last question, Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
You know, I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment. For all Americans, regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph, and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
Give you your hot takes?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Uh-huh.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, my word. Well,
So I just wanted to say something really quick. I was just really listening to what she was saying. And I think a lot of times, depending on which opinion you have of her, but if you are not leaning towards voting for Kamala, if you're not in favor, or if you don't believe that the Biden administration has done a good job, and you know, are being if you're being more critical of her, that your initial instinct would be, you know, lying and all of this, right? But sometimes you have to look at what they're saying and really listen to the words. Because I think that sometimes, even though you think it's just a slap in the face and it's like, oh, sure, but what if they're telling the truth? And what if they really believe that what they're doing is, that's their agenda, that's what they want? And I guess that's like even more frightening a little bit, because if you do go back and listen to those things that she said there, and you're like, huh, okay, like, what are you really saying? You know, I know a lot of people are like, she's an idiot. I'm like, I don't know if she's an idiot. I don't know.
she's not an idiot, because she is a lawyer. You know, you have to be somewhat intelligent to become a lawyer. You got to at least be able to read and write and answer questions on the test.
Pass the bar.
Pass the test. You know, that's one thing.
So I don't think that people need to write her off as being unintelligent or being, you know, and I think that that's something that Trump does. It kind of gets on my nerves, you know, where he kind of just makes them out to be like dumber. Like, no, I think they know exactly what they're doing. I think that this is all on purpose, and I think that there is an agenda, and I think that we just don't need to write it off like, oh, she's just an idiot. I don't think she's an idiot. I don't think she's an idiot at all. I think that she is motivated. I think that
she's an opportunist.
Definitely. And I think that I think she might be ruthless, to say the least.
I'm sure. And
I think that's where that giggle comes from. I think it's like
she is. I think she's evil to the core, and because the whole time if you can honestly say you think there was nothing wrong with Biden, you're lying to yourself, because there's time after time after time during the whole while he was a president that he was messing up, and she backed him up from the beginning, all the way up until the day before. She was saying, oh, he's sharp as a tack, and then as soon as he was, now don't get it wrong, Biden didn't back down by himself. He was forced out, whether you want to believe it or not. Nancy Pelosi, I guarantee you, Chuck Schumer are the ones who forced him out.
Yeah, Chuck Schumer was really
and-
excited about Kamala being in there. He was
and
really excited about it.
Do
That
you
was kind of
think?
weird.
Do you think
Kinda
they
creepy.
wanted? Do you think they wanted Kamala? No, Kamala wasn't the first choice, but they could not step over her. There were other people that would have been better for the Democratic Party, but and I'm going to say it, they couldn't step over her because she's a woman of color, and if they would have done that, it would have been the people on the left would have went crazy. Just don't forget, she was the first person out when she was running. She was out, the first person out because she couldn't get enough
during
support
the primaries.
during the
Yeah.
primaries. She was the first
On
person
merit.
out. Yep. So anyway, but that's who we're stuck with, and it worries me to death that she could possibly win.
She could.
Yep. But hey, listen.
This one's gone on really
This one's
long.
gone on quite a long time, and we don't want to drag this out. If you have made it to the end,
Yes,
end
thank
of
you
this,
so
If
much.
you made it to the end of this, God bless you.
Because we know we're new at this and we're
yeah.
learning and we're not the best. But
and I know you may not agree with what we say, but you know what? It is what it is. Thank you for watching.
Yes.
This is our opinions, our thoughts. If you agree with us,
great.
leave
If
a
not,
comment.
That's okay
If you don't,
too.
if you don't agree with us, leave a comment, and we'll love you anyway. But until
Because
the
we're
next
all in this
time,
together. Let's
Yeah.
not forget that.
That's right. That's right. We're all brothers and sisters here in America, and so we're living through
Regardless.
this together. So, love it or hate it, we're in it together. But
That's right.
until the next time, we'll talk to y'all later.